Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you. When I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book, before one of them came to be. How precious to me are your thoughts, God. How vast is the sum of them. Were I to count them, they would outnumber the grains of sand. When I awake, I am still with you.
So back in January, we did a series talking about resetting your faith, and we kind of shared and went through different aspects of our faith. And today is overall just kind of going to be talking about how are you doing? How are you doing in your faith walk? So if you weren't here for those, don't feel like you missed out on anything. We'll be talking about all that. But a couple things I need to just touch on so you know, because I was asked by a few of you. Last week, my family and I, it's the 1 week we go down and do the University of Michigan 5K where you run into the stadium. No, I did not win. Spoiler. The winning time was 15 minutes and 5 seconds. I just missed it by a little bit. I don't even think I got to the starting line by the time that guy finished, and I really wanted those season tickets, but that just didn't happen. The actual funny part for me was Jamie put down our times, because you had to put down your times of where you think you would finish in the heat, and I saw that I was in like the D group, and I thought, there must be like just 4 groups, right? No, somehow she thought that I ran a lot faster than I currently run. So, and the D group had 2 different times. So the first group, they lined us all up, and I'm off to the side stretching, and the security guy's like, hey, you're D, get out there. So I get out there, and I'm looking around going, you ever feel like you're the completely like wrong person? Like that was me. I'm sitting there going, I plan on walking most of this race, and there's guys like straight up marathon runners like all around me and like stretching and wearing like shoes worth more than my car. And I'm just like, and they do the countdown for the D group, and everybody takes off in a sprint. And I'm like, okay, this is really awkward. And like, luckily there was another couple that were with me that they were holding hands and walking. And I got to be by them and kind of go, I got to beat the couple that are holding hands. That's my goal. Like, and then they take pictures of you throughout the race. And you start to get a feel of how, like, when you see a guy, as I was coming into the finish line, and there's a guy in camouflage hat with jean shorts on, and I'm like, I got to beat him. I got to beat the guy that, has work boots kind of thing. But it was a ton of fun, so we appreciate the church being able to take over for us. But at the end of that week, I got a phone call from my chiropractor who knew I was doing this, and he's like, you probably want to come in and get an adjustment, right? And I'm like, you know me so well, like I'm going to come in and get my adjustment and kind of do this. And maybe I'm the only one that enjoys watching reels on Facebook where they show like chiropractic adjustments, and like it's loud, and I've always asked him how they get it to be that loud. He's like, oh, they use microphones. Like, your back will never pop that loud. And I'm like, okay, so like I'm sitting there and I lay down on the table and I'm like, okay, go ahead, do your damage, you know. And he sits there and he does the first one. He's like, oh yeah, between your shoulders, you're a little bit out. Let me try that again. And I kid you not, loudest pop, like I thought a gunshot went off. And I'm like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I feel fine. Like I was expecting so much pain. And I got up, I'm like, oh, like this is how you're supposed to actually be able to move. Like, this is crazy. And that adjustment, like it felt so good. And he's like, I'm warning you, when it's that loud of a pop, you're not going to always feel it. Like tomorrow it's going to, you're now an adjustment, so it's going to hurt tomorrow. And I was like, whatever. Like I went home and I was like, told Jamie, I was like, this is awesome. Look, I can reach up and grab this. I'm not like crying. Like I felt young again. And the next day hit and I woke up and I got out of bed. I was like, why does everything sore? So like he texted me. He's like, how you feeling? I'm like, I'm really, really sore. And he's like, I told you. Lots of water. Like he walked through all this. He's like, just that much. There's your body has to it takes a period of time for your body to get used to being back in alignment. It takes a period of time. Your body's not used to that. Your body, and I started thinking about that because I had lots of time laying on like ice and heat, like being, after trying to figure this out. Like that's our faith walk, right? Like we sit there and we have this moment of adjustment. We have this moment of time where God really speaks, the Holy Spirit speaks to us, and we think, okay, that's so much better, right? Like whether it be, at church or whether it be you went away to retreat or whatever it is, you have this moment where you just feel like you're back right with God and things are going to be great now. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a second, there's some consequences. There's things that hit me that I wasn't quite expecting, but now, it takes a little bit. It's just like that adjustment. So again, we talked about, the beginning of this year about resetting our faith in different parts. And I shared with you guys for myself, I was trying to be a better husband and a dad. I was trying to have better priorities. I was trying to be better at taking care of my health. I was trying to be better at lots of things. And it went really well. And even if Jamie was here, unfortunately, because of rains and all this in spring sports, we're doing the double duty, trying to get to Saginaw to get to games and all this. But Jamie would attest to you, like we've really worked on our marriage. We've really worked on stuff and setting up better boundaries. But some of that stuff as life happens, right, you start to kind of slip back into your old habits again. And like I was talking to one of my friends who we both started this trying to be healthier diet, and we were talking back and forth, and we talk once or twice a week about it. And this week I was going on a long walk and I was talking to him. And I said, I'm really just frustrated because I did so well. I was watching what I was eating and I lost 15 pounds and then I've just put back on weight now. And he said, well, where are you at? I said, well, from when we started this, I'm still down about 10 pounds. He's like, why are you beating yourself up so bad? He's like, you're still down 10 pounds. Like, you can look at that and talk about all of how much you've fallen, but you're still better than you were. And he goes, we have this thing where we do this, where we beat ourselves up about how bad we're doing. We look at that and he goes, that's Satan just lying to you. You're still doing better than you were when you started this. And I started going through all of those things that I did on that reset series, like with my marriage, with being a better dad, with being more active in their lives and talking to them and not being the dad that just yells all the time, but being the dad that actually sits there and cares. And I beat myself up really, really bad last week because we were at the tournament for Jackson on Saturday, and I sat there and I had one of those dad moments where I was just like, come on, you got to suck this up. You got to be better. Like it's Jackson. He was doing better than I ever played in sports, but I was like, what is wrong with you? Like he missed a grounder, and then he got another grounder, and he picked it up, and he was laying on the ground, and he like rolled it to the kid. And I'm like, what? Why not move your feet? Like I was like doing all this stuff, and in between games, I'm sitting there, and I'm like, just like, okay, does he need a butt chewing? Like, what does he need, as this dad? And then I find out, like, he's going through something just so emotional. And something just triggered that in him. I'm like, here I am yelling at my kid when what he really needed was a hug. And so I sat there, I'm like, I failed again as a dad. I messed up again. Here I am back in the same trap that I talked about in church. And again, no, this is called going through life. And this is the importance of a church, so we can spur each other on. We can come to each other with those heartaches, those things, and I can sit there and I can tell and say, as friends and as church people that go owners with this, and I can say, this is what's going on. You can go, you know what? It's fine. You're going to be fine. You're going to be better. We're going to walk through this hurt, this diagnosis, whatever's happened, this pain, this falling apart. But we have this tendency that we keep doing this and we beat ourselves up. And I've shared this verse before. It's one of my favorite verses. And yes, because I'm a little kid and it talks about vomit and poop, so it makes me laugh, right? Like, it's in Proverbs. As a dog returns to its vomit, so fools repeat their folly. Right? Like, as a dog returns to its vomit, so are we as a fool. Like, we do that. Like, and I talked about this before. Like, our dog does that and it makes sense with our dog, but we do that as humans. We return to that habit. Just makes us fall apart. And this part of Proverbs makes me completely laugh because, I don't know, again, my sense of humor, but we even expand out a little bit more to read through 9 through 12, and it talks about it. Like a thorn bush in a drunkard's hand is a proverb in the mouth of a fool, right? Like just the illustrations that go through my head, like an archer who wounds at random is one who hires a fool or any passerby, right? Like, these are proverbs. These are life lessons that we can all learn from. And then in the middle of that, as the dog returns to its vomit, the one we talked about, do you see a person wise in their own eyes? There's more hope for a fool than for them. Like, right? Like, those are all just like nuggets of wisdom that you're like, okay, I can walk through. And as I look at that, this is where I've landed, is I need to fill myself with more of these nuggets of wisdom. Reading through these proverbs, reading through this stuff, because as I give myself these little nuggets, so I want you to understand, if you're in the middle and you've fallen short or you're like, man, I gave that to God and now I'm struggling with it again. I gave over, I wasn't going to gossip anymore, but then I heard a good one that I had to tell everybody. Whatever it is, right? Like, we fall into those battles, whatever our vice is, and we fall back into that. And those are the moments where you surround yourself with people that can help, the first thing, and the second talked in that series is surrounding yourself with God. And one of the ways for me is doing those nuggets of wisdom. If nothing else, open up your Bible to Proverbs. Find any proverb and just randomly do the old little kid thing, and I guarantee you it'll speak to you. That's what Proverbs are. It's such a great book of the Bible for those little nuggets of wisdom. And if that doesn't speak your language, sign up. One of the things that I've signed up for on social media is for Toby Mac Speak. Everybody knows, I love Toby Mac. Jamie makes fun of me all the time. But he has these Speak Life quotes that just pop up. And that was this week's Speak Life quote. God didn't give you the strength to get back on your feet so you can run back to something that knocked you down. And I went, this is perfect for this week. Just the little nugget of what I needed. God didn't give me the strength to work on being a better husband, to work on being a better dad, to work on being healthier, so that I would just get back on my feet and run back to it. He gave me the strength so I could conquer that, so I could be better than that. God gave you this ability. He gave us as a church to be in this together. 2 Chronicles 15:7. Just a great verse that you can just dive into. But as for you, be strong and do not give up, for your work will be rewarded. Maybe you're like yourself. Maybe you've been just wanting to give up lately. Maybe you've been just sitting there going, okay, this is just too tough. Right? Like I sat there and I shared before, and it's worth sharing again. Like, one of the things that I've chose to do by talking to people that know being healthier is to put all your food into an app. So I have this app that I put all my food into. And I was doing really, really well, and then something happens. Something comes along, and instead of putting it in there, I found somehow in my brain, if I don't put it in my phone, then I never really ate it. I know it doesn't make sense, right? But that's what I thought. I was like, okay, man, Jamie made these amazing cookies, and I really want 3 of them, but if I put it in there, then I'm going to be over my macro and all this stuff. So I'm just not going to put it in my phone, and then it's not going to no, there's consequences to that, right? We have that same thing. We have this idea in our head that if I'm struggling with this addiction, or if I'm struggling looking at things that I shouldn't have done, if I'm struggling with this, well, what's my justification? right? Like, okay, I know I shouldn't be doing this, but you don't understand. My marriage isn't going so hot right now, so it's okay. Maybe you have a struggle with drinking too much, and you go, you know what? It's okay because you don't understand. Things at work are super stressful right now. It doesn't work that way. God has given us a strength, an ability. And so my prayer for you, my prayer for us as a church is that we don't turn our back on those things. The entire new series that we're going to start, I'm really excited about. In 2 weeks, we're doing this with Thrive Church, this entire series, asking for a friend. So they're putting questions. We're putting questions in that jar. And this is a chance for us to dive into some of that stuff. And because I knew the questions would be really, really hard, the first week, I'm preaching over at Thrive, and Dave Shepard's going to come preach here so he can answer all your questions and take all the tough ones out of the way for you. Right, Matt? Dave's pretty smart. He can handle that. This is only spoken like a true older brother. But Dave's going to come, and I'm going to go over there. Like, we're going to dive in, and in those questions that you have, those things that you just go, but God, does God really struggle with this, or how does this work? This is what it's about. It's about being honest in our faith. It's about walking through this. So in the middle of all of this, I was kind of going back and forth with what could this look like? Because I really wanted to have this check-in moment. I wanted to have this time where we as a church can just be honest. That series was impactful for me and my family. And I know a lot of you have shared that series was impactful. And if you weren't here for that series, again, it was just a series where we went through resetting our faith and restarting our faith and getting back to that spot that God has for us, the plan that God has for our life, and getting back to what He calls us to be. And some of you may be doing amazing in that. Some of you may have found yourself slipping up a little in that. And so in the middle of all that, I just had this idea, and I said, you know what? When we had those little cards, and everybody wrote on their card what it is that they were giving over to God. And for whatever reason, like, we were going to destroy them, and I kind of went through what we were going to do. And I wanted to have some like grand plan of what we were going to do. And so we put them into hiding. Nobody's ever read any of the cards, don't worry. It wasn't like I just sat here eating my McDonald's, reading and going, oh, look, somebody struck. No, I didn't read through any of the cards. Have no idea what was on any of them, and we just put them into kind of storage for a while, and we were kind of going back and forth, and so I ran by Adam the idea of, like, I really want a grand idea of, like, how we can destroy these. Like, I feel like do we torch them? Do we burn them? Do we do something? Like these are people's things that they were wrestling with God. These are the things that we're struggling with, and so as only one church could do, Adam said, I have an idea. Our big song was, burn the ships. And I said, yeah. So Adam decided to say, why don't we just get a ship and put all the cards on the ship and burn the ship? And I went, yeah, that sounds great, but do you have an extra canoe laying around? What are we going to do here? He's like, just give me some time. So I'm only laughing inside because I know first, we had to come up with a symbol of what God looks like. So we have the symbol of what truly God looks like, and Adam built me a symbol of what God looks like. Can you pull up the power of God? Oh, it is there. So this is Adam, I didn't realize it was there. Adam built, a catapult system that we needed to, this is representing God. And I took all the cards and we shredded them because we really wanted you to know that if you're struggling with something, and this is what your things that you are struggling with has become. Okay, proud brag moment on Adam. I can't believe he hit the ship with a flaming fireball because we had one shot. When you make a catapult out of felt and a fireball that's on...
I just found a black hole in.
Okay, buddy. When you have a flaming fireball, you get one shot, and Adam made the one shot. So I'm just impressed. But right, like those represented, and I had a moment, having the same moment now. I had a moment watching those pieces of paper burn, because I know what I wrote and put in there, and I know what you guys as a church wrote and put in there. That represented a lot of heartache and hurt. God doesn't want us to live in that moment anymore. Those lies of Satan pull us back. Those lies that we can't beat that. Those lies that continue to come back time and time again. Those are from Satan. When you gave those over to God, it didn't take Adam and John, dumb Saturday morning building a ship, burning the ship with a flaming fireball to make that disappear. It happened when you gave it over to God and said, I can't be in this anymore. I can't live in this. God, I'm giving you my sin. I'm giving you this mistakes that I've made. I'm giving you this addiction. I'm giving you this. That happened at that moment. But that represents us as a church and the struggles that we're walking through. I want you to know more than anything that when we talked about burning the ship, in that entire series, it was the idea that we wouldn't turn back, we wouldn't look back. And there's part of us that does that, right? We don't try to return to the burnt ship. I find myself doing that. I look at that and I say, I gave this to God. I gave this over to God, but I want to go back. There's a little bit of that. Or I'm just not strong enough today. It's going to be a one-day thing. All of those little justifications, all of those little lies are Satan trying to bring you back. God has something amazing for you. God has something amazing for us as a church. God has something so just profound for us that you have this life that I just wish you could see. I wish you could know what God has for you. I wish you could see, and I've said this in years of doing youth ministry. I watch kids walk through this, and I'm like, I just wish you could have a glimpse of what God has for you. This heartache, this hurt, right? Like, I'll use for most of us, a dumb example, right? Like, our first boyfriend or girlfriend that we had when we were, I don't know, whatever age, 12, 8, whatever, right? Like, when you break up with them, you're always like, oh, it's devastating, right? Like, I can't believe this is like the end of the world. And as parents, you sit back and you're like, oh, if only you know. But at the moment, I was like, what? God, do you not understand? She is supposed to be the one I get married to and have kids with, and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, because the 12-year-old John thought that, right? But we look back and we're like, no, there's so much better. There's so many things better. God's that same way, just sitting up there going, you have so much better. Don't try to return to that burnt ship. Pray with me, won't you? Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you. We thank you for being a God that loves and cares and walks through every season of life. We thank you for what the ship represents, the burning of those sins, the sins that are destroyed. You promise us when we give something over to you, as far as the east is from the west. You promise us that you've taken that away, that there is no more. May we not live in those moments, God. May we not live reminiscing about what could have been in that burnt ship. May we not reminisce about what should be or the expectations of this better life. May we not live in those moments that just hurt and heartache. May we live in you, God, in a passionate faith walk with you, that you have so much more for us. You're striving so much more for us. And God, we just ask that you be with us. In the moments this week, and they come up in my life and everybody here, they come up where we just feel moments of weakness. We feel like moments of justification. But God, I pray that you be with us. That you send friends, you send family, you send whoever, you send a reminder that you are with us. That we no longer live in the past self, but we live with you, God, in the future that you have for us. God, I ask that you just be with the hurt and the heartache that some of us are feeling right now, of the remorse, the sadness, because we thought we kicked it, we thought we were fine, and we weren't. We fell back into the trap of lies. God, I also pray that you will bring people to simply ask, how are you doing, and mean it. Check in with us. To give us the power to overcome the temptation, the evil that is all around. God, we just ask this all in your strong and powerful name. Amen.